So this paragraph you might have heard before or two, but it always bears rehearing, right? Okay. If give me a Bronx cheer or something if you've heard it already. Okay.
I think the one she did last time was read the week before, by the way, but a lot of it is the same.
Oh, the week before?
Yeah, the other Saturday. By the way, there's nothing on the schedule for this Saturday. On the email you just sent out.
For this Saturday?
Yep.
That's because we aren't having anything this Saturday because this Saturday is the Kali immersion down, and so there is there very well may be no people to be able to make this live. So it'll be a race to the finish whether they get back here in time for Arati or not, because it's all about the Kali immersion on Saturday. Hi, Leanne, how are you doing? Leanne, what's on your nose? Leanne. It's not the kitty. Are you okay, Leanne?
Yes, just minor surgery. It looks a lot worse than it is.
It looks quite dramatic.
I know. It's kind of embarrassing. I was thinking about not putting the video on, but
oh no, this allows us to think about you more intently. Okay, as long as it's minor. Okay.
I get to take the big bandage off tomorrow, so that's good.
Oh, good. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to start where would be I think it'd be a good place, and if not, if I need to move forward, just let me know. The two then set off for Kedar and Padrinath, from where Swami Shivananda posted a letter to Bharanagore relating the good news of his meeting with Gadadhar and the advice he had given him. However, instead of returning to the monastery, Gadadhar proceeded to Almora, and still eager to visit Lhasa, waited 2 months at Badri before making a third journey to Tibet via the Niti Pass in July of 1889. Does this sound familiar to everybody? Yes, okay. All right. All right, I'm going to move over to the next page then. Did y'all reach Tibet? On reaching Tibet, he was about to start for Lhasa immediately?
And the cop stopped him.
Okay, so we did that. Okay, so we're going to go over to the governor, was a Mussulman of Ladakh, who had dread of Englishmen. Okay, his tutor's words aroused his fears, so 2 or 3 days later, he requested Gadadhar to move to the Dharmasala, or Pilgrim Rest House. At this time, some Tibetan travelers came for passports to Kashmir. The governor advised Gangadhar to join the group, or he would surely die of cold in the Dharmasala. And so Gangadhar left for Kashmir. The weather during the journey was so cold that one could not even break bread without one's fingers becoming completely numb. Gangadhar, thought of returning to Ladakh, but his fellow travelers gave him warm clothing and often warmed him at the fire. Just as he was riding into Srinagar on a pony, he was accosted by a Kashmiri Pandit who gave him a writ from the Raja, summoning him to appear before the magistrate the very next day. The next morning he appeared as summoned. The magistrate told him that it was not by the prince's order, but by the order of the British resident, Mr. Nisbet, that he was being taken into custody. The police have been on the lookout for you for a long time, he added. A wire has been sent to the resident, Mr. Nisbet, and you must remain in Kotwali, that's the jail, till a reply is received. The police will provide you with whatever you may require. Thus Gangadhar found himself in detention at the police station in Srinagar. At this time he was nearly 25 years old. Touched by his boyish appearance, the wife of the police officer took pity on Gangadhar. She pleaded with her husband, saying, "He's a mere boy. Surely he could not be involved in any political affair. You shouldn't treat him in this fashion." Gangadhar refused to take anything offered to him by the police, and the officer's wife provided him with food. After some days passed in this way, the resident's order came at last. The sadhu may be set free, but is to remain under surveillance. Orders were also given to provide him with a separate house and with whatever books and writing materials he required, But these orders were ignored. Gangadhar then informed his jailers that he intended to starve himself unless the orders were carried out the next day. Once more, he accepted alms provided by the officer's wife, then began his hunger strike in the jail. The officers of the police station remained adamant and refused to carry out the resident's order. The officer's wife, with tears in her eyes, pleaded with Gangadhar to take her bread, even if he refused theirs. In reply, he said to her, "Your husband faces hardship with a salary of 9 rupees a month. You have given me my meals on these 3 days. I will not take anything more from you." He had some good Tibetan tea with him, and he lived on this alone, refusing to touch the food offered him by the police. Of this time he later wrote, "On the 5th night, I felt uneasy due to hunger. The officer's son would come to see me every day and seeing my trouble said, 'Maharaj, I see you're feeling very unwell. I will buy you a pice worth of apples. Please eat them.' The boy brought 2 apples, and I began to feel better, so I ate them. 'The 2 apples will help me to struggle for 5 more days, if need be,' I said. At last, a separate room at Rambagh, a nearby town, was given to him, and there he lived on food offerings from a local temple. The police came daily to make inquiries. He was given paper and pen, and was able to write to Swami Ramakrishna at the Bharanagara monastery, giving all news of himself. He also wrote to Pramadas Mitra at Varanasi, telling him of his being kept in police custody. On receipt of his letters, Swami Ramakrishna, Girish Ghosh, Pramadas Babu, and other influential men of Varanasi wrote letters to the political agent at Kashmir stating, "This man is known to us. He is a monk of our monastery and has no other pursuit but that of religion." However, the resident would remain at Sialkot until March. There could be no change in Gangadhar's position until he returned to Kashmir in April. Meanwhile, Gangadhar was thinking of a daring plot. "I have failed to reach Lhasa. Why not set that idea at rest and go instead to the Karakoram Mountains, and then on to Central Asia, the great seat of ancient civilization?" At that time, urgent calls to return to the monastery came with every letter. From one of Narendranath's letters, he learned that Naren had gone to Ghazipur, UP, to visit Pabhari Baba. He admonished Gangadhar, saying, "Give up moving from place to place and settle down somewhere." Then in another letter, he wrote him in a tone of affection, "Your descriptions of the Himalayas arouse in me the desire to go there. You have the experience, so we can travel together and practice tapas somewhere." That's spiritual austerity. "So we can travel together and practice tapas somewhere. Just come and join me here at Ghazipur. Oh, it's been so long since I saw you." Moved by such a request, Gangadhar gave up his plan of going to Central Asia. While Gangadhar was in custody, the police officers questioned him one day. "Why did you enter Tibet? How did you learn Tibetan? Why do the lamas hold you in respect?" He answered their questions truthfully, and at last he replied, "Just kindly ask the lamas themselves." In April, Mr. Nisbet returned to Kashmir, and Gangadhar was taken to see him. The resident said, "I have come to learn through letters received from Calcutta and Varanasi that your travels in Tibet were not for any political purpose. You are now free to return to Calcutta. Or, if you wish, we may send you to Tibet as consul on behalf of the government." Other local British officials also offered him a political position as an allurement, but Gangadhar declined both proposals, saying, "I'm a sadhu. Taking the name of God is my daily occupation. I can have nothing of politics." The resident persisted, requesting to write something of the internal affairs of Tibet. Gangadhar again refused, said, "I cannot wield a pen, knowing that what I may write may injure a simple, harmless, free people." However, when Mr. Nisbet and others wanted to hear something about his journey, he obliged them. A portion of his account was written down, and then he set him free. While at Rambagh, he had met the Prime Minister of Kashmir, Ashutosh Mishra, and Chief Justice Rishibar Mukhopadhyay. On attaining his freedom, he was invited to stay at the house of Ashutosh Mishra, and it was through his loving care that Gangadhar regained his health. The cordiality between the two grew into a lifelong friendship. Uncertain as to whether fate would ever bring him to this land again, Gangadhar took advantage of the opportunity to visit some of the holy shrines of Kashmir, Shirvani, Martananda, Barangag, and Anantanag, among others. Only holy Amarnath was left out, as it was not a favorable time to undertake the journey. At the end of April, he arrived at Varanasi, having traveled by the way of Lahore and Rawalpindi. There he met Pramadas Mitra, and the two rejoiced to see each other again. Pramadas Mitra was one of the first disciples of Swami Vivekananda, and it was Sri Ramakrishna who told the very young Gangadhar, "Have you met Narayan? Go and meet him. You two will like each other." And in fact, they were. Did
we lose her?
Pardon me? I got a question here. Shobha, was that you? In any case, it was Swamiji and Gangadhar were very close, and Gangadhar was very young, and he deeply admired Swami Vivekananda, and it was he who took Swamiji's message of service to the furthest extent, and was actually the first one to practice seva, the spiritual practice of actual service of living people, actually even before Swamiji was able to put it into practice. So no doubt when Pramadas Mitra and his wife who were disciples of Swamiji, and some of his first disciples met, they must have been so happy to see each other. Pramadas Babu listened to the romantic tales of Gangadhar's travels in the Himalayas, and Gangadhar heard from his host all about the developments of the monastery at Bharanagore. He then departed from Varanasi for Ghazipur to meet Narendranath, but on arrival, he learned that his dear Narayan had gone to Calcutta when he had heard that Surendra was ill. Surendra was the household disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, very, very close, who actually supported the monks for years when it had not been for him, they would have starved to death. It was Surendra who actually supported Sri Ramakrishna and the disciples when they moved to Kasipur. And later at the Bharanagore Monastery, it was Surendranath who supported them. He was a lifelong supporter of Sri Ramakrishna and the young monks. Okay, he went there, he went to Calcutta because he'd heard that Surendra was ill. So Gangadhar spent 2 or 3 peaceful days with Pabhari Baba before resuming his journey. Gangadhar's rapid descent from the cold region of the north to the heat of the plains brought on an attack of remittent fever, which disabled him for a week. He started at last for the Bharanagore Monastery the first week of June 1890. He took the mail train to Hooghly, and from there a passenger train to Bali, where he disembarked, intending to cross the Ganga to Dakshineshwar, and then proceeded to Bharanagore. But here again, he was harassed by an overzealous police officer. Narendra then wrote to the resident of Kashmir, "If you continue such torment of sadhus and sannyasins, we shall leave the British Empire and found a colony elsewhere. We are sadhus. Religion is our very life. Please see that such incidents do not occur in the future." Whereupon the resident of Kashmir wrote to the police in Calcutta, "We know Gangadhar Baba very well. He is a sadhu. He is not involved in any political movement. There is no reason to suspect him." Thenceforth, the police did not interfere with him anymore. 3.5 years had passed since Gangadhar had seen his dearly beloved Narendranath and his other beloved disciples. Narendra would affectionately call him Ganges, or Barafani Babu, and would inquire in fun where his aquiline nose sadhu had come from. I don't know what Barafani means. Anyone out there have any clue? Shobha, do you have any idea? I don't know what Barafani means. Okay.
No.
Okay, we're all I'll look it up, maybe we can figure it out. And would inquire in fun where's the aquiline nose sadhu had come from. In other words, a big nose. Okay. After the joyous reunion with Gangadhar, his brother disciples spent some days together listening to the stories of the travels and adventures in Tibet and the Himalayas. And Gangadhar, on his part, was happy to find that during his absence, the monastery had become well established. Okay, and then we move on to another chapter. So before we move on to the next chapter, any questions or comments?
I think I got the meaning of barfani. It's an Urdu word meaning snowy or icy. I think that would make sense considering
okay.
Swami's dad knew Urdu.
Thank you, Ganga. Yes, we don't. Urdu is not part of the Indic languages, but a lot of it has kind of crept into Hindi. So thank you, because that's not familiar at all. So yeah, the icy, the icy monk, icy Baba. Often the word Baba or father is used for young children, for fathers, and also for sadhus or holy people, holy men. So chapter 5, with Swami Vivekananda. Which page is she on? She is on page 66. Okay. Joy and excitement reigned at Baranagar Monastery on the return of Gangadhar. The young and newly initiated sannyasins listened breathlessly as he told of his adventures with the Tibetans and the spiritual practices of the lamas. They were captivated by Gangadhar's vivid descriptions of the austere grandeur of Kedar, Badri, and Kailash, and the indescribable beauty of Kashmir. Swamiji, that's obviously Swami Vivekananda, himself said to Gangadhar, "I want you to accompany me in my travels in the Himalayas." There was a stir in Calcutta about the mysterious sadhu who had traveled in Tibet and the Himalayas and was conversant with the languages of those places. Accounts of his travels were published in The Statesman, that is this is still the current newspaper in Calcutta, the Calcutta Statesman, English language journal. Many people visited the monastery to hear about Tibet and the Himalayas, and many others visited Gangadhar to their homes, and many invited Gangadhar to their homes so they might hear about his travels. Of these accounts, Swami Ramakrishna, Shashi Maharaj, said, "They are more exciting than the travels of Admiral Lovelock," who is, Tibet was then a scarcely known country. Only a few European visitors had written of their travels there. That's true. It was very difficult to get to Tibet, and people who did visit there were not welcome. So it was not an oft-visited place. So hearing someone who'd actually come there and come down who could regale them with tales of what he had seen there would be quite a extremely interesting thing at those times. Feeling some apprehension, Swamiji said to Gangadhar one day, "Stop talking Tibet for some time, even if I myself bring up the subject." After the initial excitement had passed, Gangadhar settled down at the monastery and gave himself up wholly to sadhana and the study of the scriptures. This change in him pleased the monks, and his love for them grew 100-fold. In a letter to Pramadas Mitra, called here Pramada Babu, at Varanasi, he wrote, "I now intend to remain here for some time. I've traveled a lot, but the joy I feel here I have found nowhere else. I have a great desire to read the Upanishads, and the true teachers of the Upanishads are not wanting here. They are to me the very embodiment of the teachings of the Upanishads," which is true when you find someone who's actually realized the truth of the Upanishads. Why bother just reading a book when it's embodied to you, and those who've had the experiences described in the Upanishads can relate to you about it, and you feel the warmth of their presence. In the meantime, Swamiji was preparing for a pilgrimage to the north. Gangadhar had received from Sri Ramakrishna the ochre robe, but had not yet performed the Viraja Homa necessary for sannyasa. While Gangadhar was away, Narendra and his other Gurubhais had performed this ceremony before the sacred Paudika, the slippers of Sri Ramakrishna. Swamiji now decided to have the Viraja Homa performed for Gangadhar before he left for the Himalayas. During the first week of July 1890, Gangadhar offered all his desires as oblations into the sacred fire before the portrait and the slippers of his guru, Sri Ramakrishna. Swamiji acted as the acharya, that is the teacher. The monastic brothers of Gangadhar were sitting around him in the meditation. In the calm and solemn atmosphere of the sannyasa, the sannyasa mantras were recited. The new sannyasin was enveloped in the divine light of the Atman, which is pure, eternal, all-knowing, and free. Swamiji, aware of the marks of unbroken continence on Gangadhar's body, named him Akhandananda, meaning unbroken joy, a name which proved very appropriate in his life. When the pious father of the young sannyasin received the news of his son's return, he came to see him at the monastery. Later, in accordance with his father's wishes, Gangadhar visited his mother. When his mother saw him, she came forward to take her son in her arms, but the sannyasin soon uncovered his body and said, "Just see, mother, I'm not wearing my sacred thread. I'm now dead to the world. I'm an untouchable. Touch me. And, hold on, I got a page turn here, and you'll have to bathe." The astonished mother looked at him and thought, "Truly then my Ganga is now a sannyasin." Gangadhar consoled his mother, saluted her and his father, and returned to the monastery. Shortly afterwards, many men and women, hearing that the son of Ghatta Gandhabadhyaya family had returned, came to Bharanagore to visit him. It was at Sri Ramakrishna's wish that Gangadhar first went to see Narendra. From the first meeting, he was drawn to Narayan, and the attraction grew stronger day by day. He had written from Kashmir, I'm going to see Narendranath before I go to Amarnath." In Swamiji also there was a stirring of love for Gangadhar. In 1890, Narendranath had written him from Ghazipur, "I'm so sorry that you cannot come. I wished so much to see you. The reason is that I probably have a deep love for you. However, let me try to get beyond this maya of affection." Swamiji had great longing to be merged in meditation in the Himalayas, and so he wrote in July 1890 to Swami Sardananda Sharat at Almora. "Very soon, that is, as soon as the fare is procured, I intend to go to Almora. I shall choose a place by the Ganga in Karwal, where I shall remain for a long time in meditation. Gangadhar is coming with me. It is only for this purpose that I have brought him down from Kashmir." In the middle of July, Gangadhar, now known as Swami Akhandananda, prepared to accompany Swamiji. On the day appointed for their departure, they went to salute Sri Sarda Devi, the Holy Mother. She said to Swami Akhandananda, "My son, I'm handing over to you our greatest treasure. You are familiar with the Himalayas. See that Naren does not suffer from hunger." With the blessings of the mother, the two brothers, carrying begging bowl and staff, set out on their pilgrimage to the sacred shrines of northern India. When they were on their way, Swamiji said, "Look here, Ganges." That's what Swamiji used to affectionately call Gangadhar. He had nicknames for everybody. "Look here, Ganges. Let us proceed straight to the Himalayas and not halt at any place." Next day, the two monks reached Bhagalpur, where they attracted attention. Manmata Chowdhury, an acquaintance of Swamiji and a follower of the Brahmo Samaj, invited him to their home, where a large number of guests and devotees were gathered to hear the Swami's discourse on religion. Having talked for a while, Swamiji took up the tanpura and accompanied himself as he sang some songs. The audience sat spellbound till midnight. At Manmata Babu's persistent urging, the brothers stayed there for 7 days. Since he was most unwilling to part with them, they finally had to leave Bhagalpur in his absence. As Swami Akhandananda had not visited Baidyanath, which is it's a sacred holy spot, particularly sacred to Shiva, Swamiji accompanied him there to this well-known shrine. It was here that they met Rajnarayan Basu, a celebrated man of his time. Next, they came to Varanasi, where they were the guests of Pramadas Mitra. Pramada Babu's palatial residence at Chowkamba was on 4 levels. The top of its large basement served as a vast courtyard, and a part of it rose 3 other stories. There was also a platform for religious festivals on one part, a temple of Shiva on another, a swing somewhere else, and an office quarter where there was always a hustle and bustle of business. In the midst of it all sat Pramada Babu, like a philosopher king of old, tasting the nectar of devotion and knowledge and attending to his worldly duties. In the holy city of Varanasi, at the feet of Lord Shiva, Swamiji and Swami Akhandananda spent several blissful days. Pramada Babu was extremely happy to have the two monks at his residence, for there was no lack of hospitality. He arranged for his guests to rest during the scorching midday hours in the cool basement below the ground. Pramada Babu regaled Swamiji and his companionship with his vast knowledge of the scriptures and all that he could provide materially. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, when Swamiji was in his wandering days, he studied Sanskrit and scriptures with Pramadas Mitra, provide materially. However, Swamiji grew restless, and he could no longer stay in Varanasi, for he was eager to be in the holy Himalayas. In the meantime, Swami Akhandananda had decided to take Swamiji to Ayodhya, as he remembered his joy there on a previous visit, and in spite of Swamiji's protest, he purchased 2 tickets for Ayodhya. Swamiji entered the compartment, but remained grave and silent. At Ayodhya, they took a horse carriage to the temple of Sitarama near Lakshman Ghat on the Sarju, but they continued to travel in silence. It was already dark when they arrived, and they were met only by the head of the monastery, Sri Janakivir Sharana. Swamiji was still reserved and silent, and one can only imagine the discomfiture of Swami Akhandananda. Janakivar Sharana was a Vaishnava, but he wore no outward signs of it. In spite of the huge income of the monastery, the abbot was a devotee of perfect renunciation, leaving business matters to his assistants and devoting his time wholly to sadhana. Along with the guests, he took the prasada of the temple on a leaf plate. The following morning, Swamiji and the abbot spoke together for a long time on renunciation and bhakti, devotion. Soon, Swamiji's displeasure turned to gratitude, and afterwards, Swamiji praised Janakivar Sharana highly. The abbot, too, held Swamiji in high esteem. Swamiji wished to stay a day or two longer, but his keen desire to reach the Himalayas would not permit the delay. While they were leaving Ayodhya, Swami confided in Swami Akhandananda, "It is for this that I love you so dearly. Others would not dare to bring me here, seeing my mood. Really, I felt such joy. Such a sadhu is rarely to be found." It's also interesting because Ayodhya is the place of Rama and Sita. And Swamiji was given the Ishta of Rama by Sri Ramakrishna. So I think that is extremely important and why Swami Akhandananda wanted him to go to Ayodhya. They came next to Nainital and halted there for 6 days. A cold dip in the lake brought on pain in Swami Akhandananda's chest, but they started for Almora en route to Badri Narayan. As the snow-clad ranges came into sight, Swamiji's mind became calm, and he remained indrawn. One day, Swamiji said to Swami Akhandananda, "You follow the footpath and let me go through the woods. We shall meet on the other side." Swami Akhandananda did as he was asked, but after waiting on the other side for some time, he entered the forest and came to a clearing filled with beautiful, fragrant flowers. There, to his astonishment, he saw the master and Swamiji embracing each other. He stood back, struck with wonder and joy at this blessed reunion. Now, obviously, Sri Ramakrishna had died, if this was 1890, he had died 4 or 5 years earlier. But, he came. On another occasion, Swamiji disclosed to Swami Akhandananda mantras he had seen in gold, explaining their import and telling him to which deity each related. Thus they traveled along in solitary mountain paths. One day, near Almora, they rested under a peepal tree. They bathed in a mountain stream and then sat for meditation. After a long time, Swamiji said to Swami Akhandananda, "Gangadhar, here at Almora, under this tree, a most auspicious moment has been spent. Today, I have found the solution to a knotty problem." That's Knotty, knotty, like a tree knot, knotty problem. "I have realized that the macrocosm and the microcosm are strung together on the same string." In a notebook preserved by Swami Akhandananda, Swamiji wrote an account of this realization, which is the source of some of the main points in his later speeches and writings. Davy Prawn, are you there? I see Devi Prana's image there. Devi Prana and I and Borda Prana, when we went up to the Himalayas at Almora and Mayavati, the guide and the driver pulled over and showed us the exact spot. And we went there where Swamiji achieved this realization. Remember that, Devi Prana?
Yes, I do. It was awesome.
It was awesome. So it's like to have it, to be able to be shown this is where he had that experience was pretty amazing. So an India pilgrimage is a good thing sometimes, because when you read this, you go, yes, and you can visualize the whole thing. At Almora, they were the guests of Lala Bhadri Shah's garden house, where they were soon joined by Swami Sardananda and Vaikuntha Sanyal, a disciple of Ramakrishna, who was traveling under the name Swami Kripananda. They spent a few joyous days together. Then, since Swamiji was seeking a secluded place, they all set out for Karna Prayag. Swami Akhandananda developed a slight fever, and the party stopped for 3 days. Although the serene beauty of Karna Prayag charmed Swamiji, when Swami Akhandananda recovered, they pressed on to Srinagar by way of Rudraprayag. Once resting in a chati, which is a kind of a wayside place for sadhus, during part of the trip, they read the Upanishads. And this is where I'm going to stop, right at the top of page 72. And any comments or questions about any of this?
Vrajaprana, I was wondering if maybe Akhandananda didn't want to go to Georgia because Thakur had told him when he would know himself, he would no longer live. And maybe he felt that Rama being his Ishta, I mean, by then probably Thakur was his Ishta, I'm assuming, but you know what I'm saying? That maybe he felt that
I think he was just mad because he didn't want to go there. I think Swamiji was just mad because he wanted to go directly Himalayas, and Gangadhar is saying, no, we'll go there via this way. And he was like, I said I wanted to go this way.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I think by then, Thakur had merged much more, and of course the non-dual path, and then at the end, it was all mother. It was all Kali, it was all mother. That was, as Swamiji said, Sri Ramakrishna was all bhakti on the outside, but jnana inside. And then Swamiji said about himself, he said, with me, it's quite the contrary. So any other questions or comments on this? All right. Well, we're all, those lucky people who went to Kali Puja are recovering well. I hope all those, there will be the immersion this coming Saturday, so there will not be a reading from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna here Saturday at 5 p.m. because we don't know who will be back by 5 p.m. And on Sunday, Swami Sumanasananda is going to speak on Thy Beauty Sparkles in Dense Darkness, which is a Bengali song to Kali. So I suspect it will very much be about Kali. And the following Wednesday, we will be having a reading of Swami Akhandananda. And the following Saturday will probably be a Gita class. And a Karma Yoga Day, yes. Get your boots ready, or maybe just your gloves. We will provide anything you need. Saturday, 9 a.m. or 9:30, whatever works for you, we're happy. Saturday the 25th is our Karma Yoga Day, so please come and join us. That's the Saturday after Thanksgiving, correct? Okay. So you'll all be well fed by then. I'm sure we'll have some delicious leftovers. Please come and join us. Okay. Close with a chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all for joining for all over the place. Always a pleasure to see you. Oh, if only to see your name, it's a joy. And thank you for joining right here in the temple. Okay, stay warm and dry, everybody. And Jai Ma.